beautiful high gloss finishes like this and beautiful matte finishes like this out of the exact same material poured in the exact same silicone. How, you ask? Well, that's the beauty of matte versus gloss mold making. Before we go on, you know the deal. If you actually like what we learned here today, then like this video for me. If you want to keep learning things alongside of me, then subscribe. We'll keep discovering stuff and keep exploring interesting topics. So how do you get these results? How do you know the results that you're going to get? Well, let's look at a few projects today, talk about the shine level, do some test castings, and learn a little bit. Let's align on 3 real quick and easy terms. That's master, mold, and casting. Now the master is the actual object that you're going to make a mold of. It's what you're trying to copy. The actual mold is the silicone that you pour in order to make a copy. The casting, well, that's the actual copy. It can be out of whatever material that you want once you have the silicone mold of the master. You get it? Master, mold, casting. Master, mold, casting. I got 4 masters here that range from extremely high gloss all the way to very matte. Now, how can we tell the difference between a matte versus a glossy finish? Well, on a glossy finish, you can see the light actually hits the surface and bounces back to you pretty uniformly. A matte finish, because that texture is, well, it's rougher, right? The light doesn't bounce off so evenly. It kind of gets scattered in different directions, meaning that light that you could see very clearly in the glass casting, it's a little bit more hazy. It's hard, it's undefined. This glass tray is glass. It's extremely clear and will give us a high gloss finish. This little bookend master I made is made out of some polyurethane tooling board that's been sanded up to a pretty high shine. This epoxy putty pillow sculpture that I did really quickly is kind of a lower sheen. It's a little bit matte. You can feel it has texture to it. And then last, this terracotta tray. I think it goes under a pot or whatever, but this terracotta tray has a substantial amount of texture. So we have high texture over here, all the way up to high gloss. Right. Focus up for a second, because this is the key point. Listen up, close those other tabs, pause the music, settle down the kids, whatever you gotta do. Your final casting is going to be just as glossy or just as matte as the master that you make a mold of. Silicone's an extremely high fidelity material. That means scrapes and scratches and textures and even fingerprints that you have on your master will transfer into the mold and subsequently transfer to your casting. Well, the molds are just as shiny and just as matte as well. This is a high fidelity material. What you put in is what you're gonna get out. But if you get this point, then you get this video. Now, all this is really good head knowledge and good learnings, but I think we should do some tests to actually see how this pans out. Now, to make sure that we have a good test, we're gonna have some beautiful light shining on these castings. How glossy or how matte it is will really be clear if we do it this way. All right, now let's look at these final castings. If you look at the glass tray one that we did, well, it's super shiny, very, very reflective. That's awesome. The bookend, which is a little bit, not so shiny, a little bit more satin, has a satin finish as well. Below that, we had our pillow one, and you can see it's even more matte. The light is starting to reflect on it a little bit differently than the last two. And then our terracotta, well, it's extremely matte, just like the master was. But what about clear? A lot of you are doing clear castings with this stuff. You want to see how that turns out. Well, I did that. Now our high gloss glass mold, well, it looks like glass. A terracotta tray, however, has more of a frosty root beer mug kind of texture to it. And that's because it's picking up the light in different ways and it's bouncing it off in different directions because of the texture of the material. What can you do to influence the actual finish that you're getting out of your molds, out of your masters, and in your castings? So for high gloss finishes, let's say, you could, number one, actually top coat the master itself with a quick coating epoxy or another material that will give you a high gloss finish. If you do that before you make the mold, you'll end up with a glossy mold and then subsequently glossy castings. If you don't want to necessarily do a top coat on it, you can go ahead, sand up to very high grit, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, and then use some of Alumilite's epoxy polish to give your project that final shine before you make a mold of it. Now, if you want a matte mold, what you can do is actually the opposite, believe it or not. Instead of sanding up to a high grit, we might just hit an already glossy, glassy master with a little bit of 600 sandpaper, or 2,000, or 4,000, or 120. Really, it depends on how matte you want that final casting to be. So if you sand your master before you make a mold of it, you add texture and you get a matte finish in every casting. Well, I feel like we've definitely learned some stuff today. I mean, I've had a good time. It was fun to just do these castings like this, and I've learned a lot. If you've learned a lot too, then please let me know that, either in the comments below by saying, hey Jordan, I've learned a lot, this is fun, please keep doing these, and then maybe like the video for me as well. A quick reminder before we leave, your final casting is going to be just as glossy or just as matte as the master you made a mold of. I feel like you just one more time so that we're all on the same page. I'll see you next time.